What's up, everyone? The market is showing some serious warning signs right now. In this video, we're going to go over the best plays in the market right now and the most important news you need to know about. Even if you had a rough day today, whether it be with Tesla or Netflix or the market overall, make sure to stick with us to the end of today's video. We're going to go over some of the best setups to hopefully turn your week green if it's not already. But with that being said, Tom, let's jump right into today's episode.
100%, Mike. And man, that stock market really fell off hard today. I know that we talked about that a lot last night. We talked about Tesla not really having the best reaction. And I'll say, after we posted the video, it ended up having a worse reaction in after hours there, really falling off. And look at today. It actually went all the way down to almost the 260 support again, got actually down to around 261. So that was a brutal drop from Tesla and even Netflix here. They had a pretty bad drop themselves, but intraday today just kind of got to the low of yesterday in after hours. But those two earnings, Mike, ended up being terrible. So I feel really bad for the market right now, but I will say all the put traders really made up for it today. I know that there were some awesome plays in the Discord, like the Amazon play, and we even posted some good plays like on SPY and a couple others. So I was happy to see that. And the SQQQ guys were really killing it today. Ended up rising 7% as those tech stocks fell off hard.
Yeah, that was a great move there. And as we look at just like you could say individual stocks or even just the market overall right now, it's a very unique position that honestly we have not been in a very long time, especially when you go to like a daily or weekly chart. Most stocks right now are up a ton from their lows, and it puts people in a weird situation where it's like, it's kind of hard to go long right here, but at the same time, it's also pretty scary to go short because people who've been shorting the market for the past couple weeks and months have gotten destroyed, right? And as we look at historical data, we could see that the S&P 500 is on a 5-month win streak right now, which is awesome to see. And what we could see from historical data is that, 1 month, 3 month, 6 months, and even 12 months out normally end up being positive. But the multi-million dollar / billion dollar question here is, will we see that this time? Like, sure, we can look back and, you could say June of 2021 or August of 2020 or, you could say January of 1954 and look at all these multi-month win streaks, but I think it's also worth noting that this time might be a little bit different, but, for the bulls, it is good to see this type of data.
Yeah, it really is. And, I would not actually be surprised if we ended up going green for the rest of the year. But I don't know, Mike. We're in such a strange position. The Feds, we have the FOMC meeting coming up next week. And the big thing is that these earnings are really kicking off in a pretty bad way, in my opinion. To see Tesla and Netflix falling like that. I know that we have a lot coming up over the next few weeks, and I would really hate to see, more of these stocks falling off, like, Apple, Amazon, and stocks like that as they start to report. But it's not a good taste in your mouth, whenever you see Tesla falling like this on earnings. And, the numbers were pretty decent, but it's really those margins and other things like that kind of ate into them.
Exactly, and we'll dive deep into that in just a second, but what's also worth noting is that we're coming towards the end of July and starting to, we're getting closer to August, and at least historically speaking, August isn't what we'll call the best month for the market.
Yeah, it's really not. You can see here on the chart how, man, August came in at 0.1% on the average historical returns since 1970. That's a pretty big number there, 0.1%. And July was actually one of the better months. So we're going from like one of the better months historically into a couple of the worser months. Now, towards the end of the year, that could get better. And, whenever we start to get towards the end, I heard that the Feds are, looking to maybe cut rates. Maybe now I know stuff might change in the future, but right now, they're pricing in like a rate cut maybe towards the end of the year, stuff like that. And I'm going to really watch this, Mike, as, we go into next year, because it's going to be very curious to see how the Feds react on this meeting coming up at the end of July. I think that could really dictate how the moves go in August and September. And it's just scary to see whenever you see September that low. I mean, that is a brutal month for the stock market.
Yeah, definitely scares bulls. There is no doubt about that. And as you mentioned, rates, what's interesting today is that the market is actually higher since the Feds even started rising interest rates. And this is pretty interesting. So, as we can see on the chart right now, basically we can see, the Fed started hiking rates on March 16th of 2022. And since that point, the market, yeah, it's sold off a decent amount initially, but we're actually higher than that point. So Tom, what I'm wondering is like, as the Feds actually start to lower rates, will we see a downturn? Because we have in some instances in the past, but it's just kind of interesting. Like a lot of people think like, all right, now that the Fed's going to start cutting rates, now the market all of a sudden has to rise, but that isn't necessarily true.
Yeah, it's really not. It's not necessarily true. And, keep in mind that, like, whenever they were cutting rates in the past, the market started, like, kind of popping up for a while, right? And then we actually, then they eventually got to that point where they had to start raising the rates again. And, I'm really kind of curious to see how it ends up going. I'm kind of somebody that's actually leaning like it will end up pulling back a little bit as they do that. And the main reason for me is that I think that that'll make inflation pop up a little bit more. Inflation's been down quite a bit recently, down to 3%. If it gets to their goal and then they stop this, like what's going to stop it from going back up? And I think that, it will start to gradually rise again until they, start to try to figure it out and keep it steady there.
Good stuff. So, Tom, if we could jump back to the charts really quickly with just like the market overall, I'm going to be straight up with you. I am concerned right now for multiple reasons. First things first, we have these big tech stocks that are extremely overbought, so I could definitely see a pullback coming. Second of all, we had a really bad start to earnings season. Tesla and Netflix had really bad earnings reactions. I'm not saying their earnings reports were like disastrous by any means, but it's like, Tesla's down 9% today, right? That's not a good sign, especially considering how influential Tesla is to the overall market. So it's like overbought stocks overall, plus a bad start to earnings season, plus historically we're coming into like a weaker part of the year with August and September. I'm expecting a pullback. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I am too, Mike. And, to see like Tesla actually sink as like Musk is warning and more blows the profitability, that's obviously something really bad as we start to go into this earnings season. And I'm with you. I think that we'll also be seeing a bit of a pullback. And I hate to say it, but it's been a long time coming. It really has. Like we've been talking about this for a while on Nvidia, Meta. A few stocks like this are up like 300+%. So I'll really be watching these to the downside over the next few days. And I will say, Mike, we've been talking about a few of these stocks to the downside over the past few days, and they have been starting to really show some good potential here. So I'm happy to see it personally. And I know a lot of people were banking off some of those plays today too. And that's the thing. Just stay adaptable, guys. I know that a lot of people have been bulls lately, and you just see call buying day after day. That's going to start to shift a little bit now as some profits are being taken. So just keep that in the back of your minds and be adaptable here. That's the big thing in the stock market.
No doubt. And speaking of some like practical ways to be adaptable in this market is, obviously it's pretty easy to make money when stocks go up because you can buy stocks, you can, buy calls, you can do a bunch of great stuff like that. But when stocks fall, it can get a little bit more tricky. So one ETF that we always look at when the market's falling is SPXS. Essentially what this ETF does is when the market falls, this thing pops to the upside in a pretty nice way. Today it only popped up by 2%, but it's actually a 3x leveraged ETF. So like if the market's down, let's say 2%, this ETF can be up like 6% or even more in certain situations. So it rises when the market falls. You just don't want to hold on to this for long periods of time. But even if you like one day like short, like specifically like more of these like big tech stocks with the NASDAQ, you can do like SQQQ. It's basically the same thing. And if you want to get really crazy, you can jump into like UVXY or like VXX for like if you think people are going to start panicking, because they also pop when the market falls.
I will say the UVXY movement today actually kind of pissed me off a little bit. I think that we'll start to see VIX and UVXY move up a little bit more over the next few weeks and few months. But right now, today, that was pretty rough. The big one I thought was SQQQ, man, up 7% today. That was so good out of that ETF. I know a lot of people were hitting on this one. And, like you said, it follows more the NASDAQ and those tech stocks. One little negative is that, we did start to see those bank stocks do pretty well today. So like the S&P 500, it might be like a little bit more shaky, whereas like the NASDAQ might fall more drastically since it doesn't have all these like bank stocks kind of trying to hold it up right now in the short term.
Exactly, and that's a great point. When you have Tesla and Netflix fall on earnings, it definitely makes it a lot easier for the NASDAQ to just, have an avalanche, we can say. That's what the chart looked like today. It was just like a complete avalanche ever since yesterday's market close. And, speaking of earnings, Tom, we are heading into the most exciting part of earnings season for next week. What is on the schedule?
Yeah, so there's actually a lot going on here next week, Mike. It looks like kicking it off on Monday, Domino's Pizza, something like that, NXPI, CDNS, nothing crazy, but Microsoft and Google are reporting in after hours on Tuesday, and that's going to be very, very influential. And then Wednesday, we even have Meta, which is going to be huge in my opinion. If they do not come in with something positive, and personally, I don't think they're gonna. I think that Threads has been a big bust. I just saw an article today by Reuters saying that already half the users have quit using the app. I'm not surprised, to be honest with that. And then we have Coca-Cola reporting pre-market that day, with Boeing even there too. They had a pretty good day today, actually. AT&T, which we've talked about a lot the past few days. So there is a lot going on. And even Thursday, like MasterCard, McDonald's, I can't even name them all, Mike. I think I'm going to go, I'm losing my breath here.
All right, well, I'll give you a break for a second, and I'll jump right into my first and most watched setup for tomorrow, and that is NVIDIA, and it's actually to the downside. And guys, I talked about this exact setup in yesterday's video. We mentioned that $480 resistance, and it just fell perfectly. So that was very satisfying. But either way, NVIDIA is down like 3.3% on the day. I could see it pulling back more. It really looks like the momentum with this one is kind of shifting to the bearish side of things. So I'm going to be watching this one pretty closely to the downside. I will recommend to be pretty aware of like that 450 support level. It's a pretty big psychological support.
Yeah, it really is. That's a big level there. So keep your eyes on NVIDIA. I really like it. Yesterday we both called out semiconductors. I called out AMD, and I was happy to see both of them really tanking off today. It was some good moves below those supports there. So good with that one. And, Boeing is actually a stock that did very, very well today, despite, what's going on in the overall market. So I was really happy to see some money shift into here. And I've been waiting for a breakout above the Boeing trend line here. And today we finally got one. So I will be watching Boeing tomorrow. If they can break 214, I'll watch for like a scalp to the upside. I think it could be another pretty good day trade. And I will say it's awesome to see him moving up on a day where the market fell like this.
Oh, yeah. Another stock I'm watching is Walmart, but actually to the upside. And while this is not as exciting and shiny and explosive as a stock like Tesla or Apple, it does have some pretty good opportunities over the course of multiple days. So basically with Walmart, we are seeing a rotation right now in the market. So as we're seeing some stocks like Tesla and Amazon and Nvidia get destroyed, we're seeing other stocks like, Walmart or Johnson & Johnson or some of these bank stocks actually have some great uptrends and a lot of money flowing into them. So I am watching Walmart to the upside. Normally this stock moves pretty good over the course of a couple days rather than just like one specific day. But I think there's a decent chance we could see a retest of that recent high right around like 159. And if things go great, maybe we could even see a touch of 160.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And if they have another big day like they did here, they would be like right up there, just about the 159.50, 160. So I would love that, Mike. Walmart, I love this rotation that we're seeing in the market. We're even seeing, some of these other like smaller stocks too, like Rivian have pretty good days, even on like days where the SPY is doing bad. And it makes sense considering their correlation. And, we've been seeing a lot of big money flow into these stocks lately too. So I like it with Walmart. I just like the rotation in general there. And man, with my next stock, I was going to actually call out Visa, but I think Visa will be a good put play here in the short term. The thing that scares me with it is some of the banks, but the chart looks pretty good for tomorrow. Like if they break below like 239, I think looking at puts on this one could be good, but I just have to mention SQQQ again, Mike. I mean, I really love this one right now in the short term, 7.14%. If these tech stocks keep falling down, SQQQ will be awesome the next couple weeks. And, I hate to, I know obviously it's not correlated to SPY, but, that's great to see it that negative on the correlation.
Exactly. Well, Tom, it's now time for those momentum plays. And with the first one, we have Netflix to the downside.
Yeah, NFLX, terrible day today. And what I like about it is that they actually didn't even get below the low from after hours yesterday. And there's some support there right around 430. So if they break right below that key 430 support, look at puts. And I think that there's a good chance that we could see a big sell-off out of them tomorrow.
Uh-oh. With the next one, we have Coinbase also to the downside.
COIN. Yeah, Bitcoin's really been pulling back the past couple days. Honestly, it's been kind of weird to see that. If Coinbase breaks under 100, look at puts. I don't know if I can even express how big the $100 level is usually on stocks, and there has been a lot of chop at this level in the past here on Coinbase. So keep that on the radar. $100 to the downside.
Now with the last one, we have Johnson & Johnson to the upside.
Yeah, J&J. Now, that was a good move on the earnings today, and some of those healthcare stocks might be pretty good here the next couple weeks. So I like this. Make them break above 169 tomorrow. I'll like that move. It's just right above the high of day.
Sounds great. So you guys heard Tom. We have that upside level for J&J, and then we have the downside levels for Coin and Netflix. If they break below those levels, we're watching them for puts, and if J&J breaks above the upside level, we're watching it for calls. But it is now time to jump right into the $1.14 million big money trade of the day. And we are looking at Netflix again, Tom. So this poor stock's just getting taking a beating in this video. But seriously, yeah, long story short, someone dumped around $1.14 million into the Netflix 410 strike put options that expire on September 19th of 2023. This stock is extremely overbought. Their earnings were not bad. It's just they weren't good enough to wow investors, and the stock is starting to pull back. We just have big money betting that Netflix will fall. I am not against this trade at all. I can see Netflix tanking down. I will say, though, I think it would be a good idea to get closer to the money besides the 410 strike put. So maybe if you got the 430 strike puts, maybe the 420 or 425, that'd be a little bit more of a safer move.
Yeah, I think so too. Those 410 puts are pretty far down there. And, I know Netflix puts can be pretty expensive sometimes, but I think it's worth it, especially if you keep stop losses in place. And let's be honest, Mike, if you're going to get 10 contracts at the 410 strike, let's say, it's probably better just to get one or two contracts the 430 strike. That way you don't get killed by time decay if there is a pullback there. But I love the play, Mike. I think that'll be awesome. A lot of money going into those puts, and it should be fun over the next couple months. It looks like this big money trader's definitely looking at a bigger move here.
You know it. And if you guys are looking to really capitalize and be adaptable in the market going forward, you gotta check out our stat modeling program. Today's bot play was insane. Our hybrid bot called out the Amazon put options at $133 each. By the end of the day, they had highs of $475 each. Yes, 133 to 475. It was a monster setup. In addition to hybrid bot alerts, you also get access to our sniper bot, which has been a little bit slow lately, but awesome nonetheless. You also get access to these multi-million-dollar big money hedge fund trades every single day, which is awesome, and you get access to them before the market closes, so you get better entry prices. On top of that, you get access to swing plays and a bunch of other tools that would take us probably an hour to name all of them in this video, so we can't run through everything, but basically anything you could possibly need for short-term trading, we have. And on top of that, Tom and I spend a ton of time in this chat. So if you ever need us, we're literally just a message away. So definitely check it out. It's that first link in the description, in the comments down below. In the worst case scenario, you can cancel it anytime. But, you guys saw today's play with Amazon. It was a home run. So definitely check it out. And Tom, while we're in the Discord, we definitely have to give a shout out to our member of the day today, Unknown, in the Profits channel. He actually had a great play with Amazon, the put option. So he did pretty good with it. He made like $270, and he even had a nice post yesterday too, where he had some good profits. So awesome job, Unknown. Huge shout out to you, and make sure to keep it up. But Tom, back to the video. The market's at a point, like I said in the intro, that we haven't seen in some time. I'm pretty scared, to be honest with you, with the way earnings season is starting out. So all I'm going to say is, these big tech stocks that are set to report next week, like Google and Meta, better be ready to play, because there's some high expectations.
Yeah, there are. I mean, man, they have Meta Threads going on. They really need to have some good numbers with that. I know Zuckerberg, I know that there's, been a lot of flack with Facebook lately. I'm really hoping that the numbers come in good, but I'll be honest, with what we've seen so far, I'm not going to be very optimistic. And especially with how high these stocks are, I think people are going to start taking some profits, especially if Meta gets under 300. That's even a very big support in the short term too.
Exactly. So, guys, let's end this final day of the week on a green note. Be adaptable. Keep your head up high. There's opportunity in the market right now. You just have to be willing to adapt. Some days the markets are going to sell off like we saw today, and that's okay. And it could be awesome if you trade it correctly, right? We have SQQQ, we have SPXS for downside plays. Of course, when the market's going up, it's easier to make money, but sometimes you actually have the biggest profits percentage-wise when everyone else is panic selling. So keep your heads up high. Let's end the week on an awesome note. Don't forget to check out that first link in the description in the comments down below to join Tom and myself all day long and get access to our bot. And besides that, thank you guys so much for watching.